All right, guys, here we are to talk about another movie, online edition. We are here with a guest, Danny. Danny, tell the people who you are and where they can find you.
Hi, I'm Danny Knightmare. I'm a horror addict and I'm 0 days sober. I watch a horror movie every day. And you can find me at Horror Addicts TV on YouTube.
Danny has suggested today's video, The Uninvited, 1987. So, Danny, what made you want to watch this movie?
Because it's just a fun movie about a mutant cat, and I like to spread the word about that.
Okay.
There it is. Lee, had you seen this before?
No, I was gonna say, like, I had not seen it before, so I didn't realize, this was intentional and you had seen it before. I think I've watched other people cover it or I've heard buzz about it, but no, I had not had the pleasure myself.
This is one I had seen because, like, it is legendarily, like, a B movie of some note. Hadn't watched it in a little while, and I was like, all right. I didn't own this one outright, so I had to go get this one so that we could talk about it today.
An excuse to add to the collection. That's fine.
Exactly.
That's fine.
Who needs a reason? So Danny, now that you've watched it again, what are your non-spoilers thoughts?
Still just as entertaining.
It is so hot.
I saw this for the first time when I was really, really little. Like, I was like 5 or 6 years old, and it bothered me. It almost felt like it was a dream and it didn't exist because I would always try and bring it up to other people, and they would have no clue what I was talking about. Like, I saw it, and it was like this hitchhiker guy was kind of like the movie host. I want to say USA Network, but it could have been some other network.
Now the nightmares begin with our movie, Uninvited.
Saturday Nightmares are brought to you by S.C. Johnson Wax.
And, you pretend to be hitchhiking as he would tell you about the movie in between on the commercial breaks. And I was like, what was that movie about the little monster cat? Like, that was in the other cat. And that's all I knew, like, to tell people. And they were like, I have no idea what you're talking about, man.
All of the adults are like, oh no, this kid, we have to send him to a special school. He needs rehabilitation. Something's wrong with him. Yeah, he thinks the TV's
Your
talking
average
back.
horror viewer
Yeah.
has never seen this movie. Exactly. Your normal movie person would certainly never have seen this movie before. So yes, it is something that it's fun to bring to the light. It is an outlandish film of a cat inside a cat. And that's definitely got a lot to go and dig into. I think it's a fun movie. I won't say it's a great movie. It's not for everybody, but
Yeah.
I do think that in a crowd, this has its place.
Yes.
It's a fun movie with some interesting concepts.
I am glad that I watched it. Definitely. I like when you hear about a movie, when someone tells you what they think was important or outlandish or crazy, and you laugh along with them for 20 minutes while they describe it on like a YouTube video, you think you know what the movie is. And it's always so fun for some of these true gems to go and actually experience it, because often they're only covering like 30% of the movie and they're leaving out things. And here, I could not have imagined what else. It's such a weird jumble of elements that don't make sense together on top of the stuff you've already heard. So, yes, this is a good one.
Oh
This stuff something's going on here, I would say.
That's the 80s. There was always more than meets the eye. They always threw in a couple more plot lines than you would need to
Some
make
would
a
say too
cohesive
many.
movie. Yeah, but I think, again, that's the joy of the 80s. Like, you were never left wanting. You're always like, that's too much. What are you doing? Leave some for the next movie.
It's uninvited. Like, we don't want more than that.
I didn't invite all these characters.
Yes, all these characters and plot points and all this other stuff. It's coming in regardless. Actually, it's one of the things when I started first dating Gory before we got married, is she actually was the one person that I finally met that knew what I was talking about.
You sure?
Yeah. And we looked it up because we didn't know what it was called. That is one of my biggest problems with the title. Is this movie is called Uninvited. That's a stupid title for this movie.
It's a ridiculous title. Like, it may have already been purchased, and they were like, "Well, we got to put it on something." Like we've commissioned an art. I don't know. As a cat, you're fine.
No,
it should have been called Hairball. That would have made more sense. Like, something like that,
like it feels like a Frankenstein's monster without spoiling anything, like of other things where they were like, we need one of these, but they went to like the shelf and just took one that was from another movie. They didn't like write this movie. It just feels like like you put 10 other movies in like a blender. But like really, like literally, it's baffling.
It sounds like everybody enjoyed this movie. I think we can move over to the spoilers section of today's video. So if you've seen it or don't care, fall over to spoilers, and if not, pull out now.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
All right, so now that we're in spoilers, Danny, let me hear your spoiler-filled thoughts. What are the good, the bad, the ugly? What do you got?
Well, there's certain scenes in this movie where you can actually see the arm of the person who's using the cat puppet. And that's hilarious.
I agree. I like that.
I love how it takes. They're like the last people introduced to the movie are the heroes, the survivors.
You know, listening to Graham was just the stupidest thing that I could have ever.
Nobody's blaming you.
like they spend all this time on other people for no reason, just to build them up, I guess, to move the plot around, but they're not even the main characters, and so make it through the end of the movie.
That is an interesting aspect, and it's almost like, okay, we've invested in this character, kill them off.
You ain't handling this right. She ain't gonna buy it.
Invest in the next character, kill them.
Don't worry, I'll go check.
No,
okay?
you stay here. I'll do it.
Slowly build your way off. These are the least built up characters kind of in the film that end up being our heroes, our final couple, if you will.
No, I have a previous engagement to become a master mechanic.
Well, maybe I can interest you in a midnight snack.
Okay, so it is a trapped on a boat movie. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Yes,
And that's a tried and true horror thing. You have something with you, and like you can't get away, you can't get like help or safety or whatever.
Implications.
The girl said no, then the answer obviously is no.
No,
But the thing is she's not gonna say no. She would never say no because of the implication.
Right? You're out there.
I
you
wrote down
you got a cat inside of a
implications.
cat, and then you're forced to do it because of the implication. Yeah, exactly.
We're miles out to sea now. How am I going to get out?
We've got a lifeboat.
You wouldn't dare.
Want to bet?
Walter, now don't be stupid.
Literally Dennis the cat. But like, so like when you think, okay, what is the appropriate monster for like a trapped on a boat movie? You might think like some weird sexy mermaid that grows spikes sometimes. Or like a shark, or like a nematode or something or whatever. Or something logical that you might be like transporting in like a weird crate, like a velociraptor and like down in the thing or whatever. They have chosen a house cat. To be on the boat, and you're like, oh, he's on a boat, oh, he has the advantage. Like, no, he doesn't. What is going on? This is the worst thing. This is the worst combination of elements ever. But then it's like, no, you don't understand, there's a cat inside of that cat. He's even worse, so that makes up for it.
That's what's so ridiculous to me, is that the bad guy is a cat that lives inside another cat. And you're like, for the first part of the movie, you're like, okay, how's that work? Does he just come out and then like uses the back legs of the other cat and he's like additional legs, like a centaur of cats? But then eventually you see that he actually does come fully out of the cat and somehow gets bigger than the cat he came out of. And he's like more ferocious looking, like a gargoyle version of a cat. And like that has its place, but well, I need there to be more backstory on what the fuck am I looking at, because for something that's so dangerous and it bites you and it's like poison, rots your brain and can destroy food.
As near as I can tell, the cat that bit Mr. Harvey is highly poisonous.
It's also just like in a veterinarian's office being held by a person's hands with the door ajar. But when it gets through the door, they're like, red alert, people in hazmat suits, get your guns. You know, it's like somebody missed a step on level of importance and security or anything.
I also want to know if that first cat is good or bad. Is it merely a vessel? Is it like apologizing? I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. Or like is it also in on it? I don't know.
I think it's just a cat.
Right?
Like, I don't think it's necessarily related, because there's one very throwaway line that looks like a X-ray of a human's ribs.
You think it could be a teratoma? I don't know, I don't think so. Never seen anything like this. Look, just bring the subject in and we'll cut it open.
And they're like, there's something inside the blah, blah. Well, let's just cut it open and find out what it is, or something like that. Did that click with anybody else as anything more than it could have been? You don't remember that? It's like the very first...
Back at the lab? Yeah, so it opens on like a lab because you have to meet this cat. You have to understand the catception concept, right? So 5 minutes in, you see the cat inside of the cat. You get a nice, like, rent-a-cop who's like, whoa, I don't know what the cat is. And then it gets away and all that stuff, right? But like, no, I don't remember. There was a lot of talking. Like, we have to go take care of that cat. You, Kowalski, go here. Psh, let's do that. There's all these things, right? But then we never see those guys again, right? That's never.
Well, they're all dead, I think.
There's no like people after the cat. It doesn't end with like a helicopter and like, oh, the government.
Well, it was the perfect getaway. The cat got on a fucking cruise ship. Like, who would have guessed that was gonna happen?
This must be a lab animal. Must have gotten away.
You mean they're gonna cut it up and experiment on it?
Yeah, but first he started hitchhiking.
Well, I like that random truck driver gets killed.
Yeah.
Okay, but he gets killed, and they do a whole like car falling off the ledge thing.
Yeah, showing
Who's
they have a
paying for
little bit
that?
of money.
What the
Right?
fuck?
Well, who's paying for that yacht? That yacht is like a legit ass yacht.
That's
In
right,
like the
Mr.
little
Scott.
room
Now
where
it's a-
you'd be
now it's a
steering,
write-off.
there's a water fountain. You're like, what the fuck? How big is this boat?
Oh yeah.
To be then the dinkiest little weird miniature later, money was allocated in interesting ways.
It was actually Graydon Clark, the director, who played the lab doctor.
Paul, no matter what happens, we can't let that cat out of here.
I love how you mentioned that. I thought that too. I'm like, why is he so dressed? He should be wearing like a hazmat suit, like you say, because once it's out of the office, they need hazmat suits. It's like,
They should be holding the cat with the thing Homer Simpson holds the glowing rod with.
Yes,
The tongs,
exactly.
Like,
that's how he should have escaped. It should have like flipped and got stuck behind his neck.
It almost feels like that beginning was filmed after the fact, where like, you can't just pick up from it running into the garage. That doesn't make sense. Okay, what do we do? I don't know, throw some x-rays and say how this and that, and it's got fucking nuclear shit in it or whatever. What?
This
Well,
cat's
we'll
full of
film it in
cats.
the office, it's fine.
Too many cats in the cat. I don't know what's going on. There's extra cats.
And then it finds somebody who's nice enough to kind of feed it, but then that person gets robbed by the guy in the truck, so it gets revenge for that guy.
Oh yeah, wait.
And that's why it killed the guy in the truck, because he stole from the guy who fed the cat.
This cat has a code.
I wrote down, kill the guy that gives me a drink, I'll crash your car off a bridge embankment, you bitch.
I love that, because right when it breaks through the back of his truck, you can see this dude's arm. Like it's just a puppet getting him.
It's a fairly large puppet to be coming out of a cat's mouth. And like, yes, because it has to be able to be, you know, maneuvered, but it's just such a weird, like, it's a weird thing to think about. Like, you sit there with your piece of paper and, you know, the world is your oyster. You can say anything, you can make any plot. At this point, it's free because no one has said, like, yes, I'll give you money to make that. So to say, oh, you know what? It'll be an animal inside an animal. Well, what animal would it be? Oh, well, it's going to kill people. Okay. A cat. Yes. Cats, they have 9 lives. They're dangerous. And then inside that cat will be another cat. So a nesting doll of cats. Yes. You know, the smaller cat's the more dangerous one. Really? That's interesting. Like, it's such a weird direction to write.
Somebody would have been like, no. The thing on the outside's, you know, a cat. The inside should be what? And he's like, no. That's why it's genius. You're never going to suspect that there's a worse cat, a more evil cat inside of the first cat. Yes. Like, what experiments were they running? What are they trying to do with these cats?
Well, if the other cat's just normal, wouldn't it choke to death with something the size of it crawling inside of it? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It's a symbiote.
It's like a hermit cat that lives in other like conch shell cats, and it finds different ones.
Yes, well, that appears to literally be true, because when it ends, it's just the inside cat, and potentially the outside cat is dead or lost at sea or whatever.
Yeah.
And it then seems to get into another cat. Like that black cat at the end is our bad cat inside it, presumably.
I thought they just couldn't get that cat, and they were
Well,
like,
that's probably true.
I didn't even.
It doesn't change
like this theory
the
about
fact
that.
of what's on screen means the exterior cat isn't a mutant. It's just a cat. So, like, that's a hell of a furball.
But, yeah, I mean, it's Graydon Clark. He wrote and directed a lot of movies.
So, 20 pictures later, it really is just luck that has enabled me to keep making pictures. And that's all I really care about.
I don't know how he gets funding for his movies, but he did like Wacko
independently
and
wealthy
as well. Like all these really silly movies that really go in different directions. Like even Joysticks, it's a raunchy com, and it actually had licensed use of Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Whoa,
but
okay. I don't know about
it
this
introduces like these. Like, it almost seems like there's going to be like the popular kids versus this nerd, but then they're like, nah. Halfway through, we're going to ditch that. Now they're just against the mayor who's trying to shut down their arcade, and they're teaming up.
Yeah, it's
okay.
One of the original Save the Rec centers.
Yeah.
Okay.
He writes how he wants and he directs how he wants, and I admire him for it, even though it's very unconventional.
No, I respect anyone doing anything because most people do nothing.
Right.
But it's certainly an interesting path.
I'm gonna see if I've seen literally one other movie. I don't think so.
I recommend Wacko and Joysticks. They were also kind of that 80s craze.
Yeah.
Wacko was recently like remade in 4K by Vinegar Syndrome.
Sorry, Mom.
Nice.
When he started doing stuff in the
Older than
90s,
me.
it wasn't the same really, but the 80s stuff, Graydon Clark is the best.
80s and 90s are such a different decade, even though they're so close. There's such a wild difference in what made a 90s movie and an 80s movie.
Exactly.
You know, George Kennedy in this one is like the guy that like stands out to me. You're like, oh shit. You're like, I know that guy.
We were just a little hungry.
I don't like you. I don't like punk kids that think the world owes them a living.
For me, he'll always be the boss from Naked Gun.
Doctors say he's got a 50-50 chance of living, though there's only a 10% chance of that.
But, you know, the man has a long career of movies.
And you might be thinking, wait a minute, he usually plays like cops or robbers. He's one of those guys. How did he end up on the boat with the cat? Well, we have like 80s crime guys.
I own this boat because I was smart and your daddy was dumb, like you.
Have a boat, and then 80s teen comedy people.
Hey, you're right again, Corey. Check these two out.
End up on the boat, like conscripted into service for the mob, 80s mob guys.
In the weirdest way. This is like
he like
it's
gives
like
them
the Odd
jobs. He's like,
Couple.
you swap the deck. Like, what the fuck?
You're the cook. You're the busboy and the dishwasher. You're the maid.
It's like this grumpy old men of like mobster, like bookkeeper guys, like the guy whose job it is to like strangle that narc in like the cold jacuzzi. I'm like, that guy's 108 years old.
I think he's gonna be sick.
You okay, Albert?
I think I'm just out of breath.
He's so old. He's like the muscle from fucking King of the Hill.
Kill, Topsy! Kill!
All of them, you're like, oh my god.
We
what
have
are
to
you doing?
establish that he's like the, you know, like in my notes, I called him the murderer because I'm like, well, he's the guy that kills people, obviously. That's going to matter later. He's going to be ruthless when it comes to this cat.
The money, because he's got the boat and the briefcase full of money. And then Mike, by George Kennedy, is, I mean, he's kind of the muscle too, but he's also like, you know, the brains with the gun.
He's like the brains and the muscle, yeah.
Nothing's gonna keep me from getting to the Caymans.
He's street
The other
smart.
guy's more of like the lackey. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I was told to kill. That's in my lackey responsibilities.
And the main guy is just John McAfee.
Oh, please call me Walter.
He's just this like horned out rich guy who's like, come on, baby, we're doing this now. And you're like, what? No.
There should have been more drugs in the movie. That should have been
That's a miss,
a play. Yeah, like they should have been using drugs to fight the cat too. It'd been like, hit him with the blow. Like something should have been a thing.
If he had tempted those girls with cocaine, and that was the whole motivation the whole time or whatever, and like the guys were like small time coke dealers who wanted to rob his cocaine, but then it's like, wait, the boat left? What the fuck? It's like, oh no, we're stuck at sea now, and there's a cat, and then everything goes. But there's no attempt to do any cohesion. They just have a thing where it's like, I double dare
the guys
you.
are just invited by the girls, and it's like, you
Yeah.
just met this guy yesterday. It's very weird to invite somebody on a Caribbean cruise. Like,
Why don't you guys come with us?
You can help us handle this guy if he gets out of hand.
Besides, it'll be fun.
you need to be prepared to add 4 mouths to a trip.
I was gonna say they like
to another country.
They outnumber the crime guys. So the crime guys are like, yeah, that's fine. Just keep at who else? That guy? Yeah, come on. They just keep having people like that's not.
Well, a gun is the great equalizer, but yes, I 100% agree with you.
It's crazy.
They just invite the girls who are just babes hanging out by the hotel.
Girls don't have a room, do you?
Yes. Yes.
It's okay. I understand. I've been there.
But those girls met those guys that were at the hotel.
Well, he ain't the only one.
And they invite them. So everybody's technically invited. Even the one girl finds the cat on the dock and she invites the cat. So it's like everybody was technically invited. So.
The whole cast met that day.
No, but it's the worst title. You're right. Even if the entire cast had been vampires, they all still could have gotten on the on the boat. There's no one who's uninvited in like any sense of the word. Like, maybe the cat inside the cat. That's the one. Okay.
the mob people like threaten to throw the guys off at first, but then they're like, well, they can be the cooks and the cleaners and stuff. Like, okay, fine, we need a cast or a crew or whatever. Get them on here. Like, so whatever.
Just so weird, especially when you have millions of dollars of cash on the boat. You'd think you'd be a little bit more like, oh, let me see who's coming on this, implications joyride.
I'm afraid we've had a change in plans and we're going to be leaving immediately.
I get inviting the girls because, he's a fucking weirdo and he's got, ideas,
yeah.
but anything else is way beyond that.
Even if you didn't want to solve the problem, just have the guys sneak on board and something happen, and then the boat's leaving and they're like, oh fuck, what do we do, or something. Like have something, and then the crime guys could say, well, we're stuck with them now, as opposed to being like, I agree to this. Good, yes, me too.
Take these 3 sailors and raise the anchor and then bring up the gangplank. Mike, start the engine. All right, everybody, come on, let's move it.
You're like, what? No one should.
They're invited.
Yeah.
You very easily could have just had the captain literally said, I gotta hire people. Do you know what time it is? And she could have just hired them right then, and it would have been not a weird I met you this moment situation. It's right there in the script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how the captain, she has this backstory, and like I said, she's kind of like the last person introduced, and she just the ship used to belong to her dad, but then I guess for money reasons he had to sell it to Walter, and she wants it back, and he's like, well, could probably get you boat back if you play your cards right. Like, more implications there.
Yeah.
All you have to do is ask. I can be a very generous man with people who just treat me right.
Walter, you pay me to run this boat, nothing else.
He's the Elon Musk of today. That boat is his horse.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he's just offering her the thing. Yeah, but that's also backstory that was not really necessary, I think.
That's the 80s, baby.
I'm trying to think of how does Mr. Business die? I forget.
Mr. Business goes back for his $1 million
the case, and it reaches
he had
out
3, and it gets him.
So all of this groundwork would have made sense if the captain lady had triumphed over him in some way, or been save me, and no, or he was fuck you, I'm not saving you, and then he died with victim of his own hubris or whatever that way. But there's no connection to her, so he's just I want money and I die for it or whatever. It's kind of another.
Yeah.
There's
things
a lot
are
of
sliding
sell-off and
past each
payoff
other.
stuff that happens too quickly. Oh, we need crew.
It'd be a lot better if we hadn't lost an entire crew.
You mean you still haven't replaced them?
And then 1 second later, they're on the boat.
You've got 3 able-bodied men here, plus Suzanne and I can help. That's crewmen that you don't even have to pay.
Oh, I can't feel this arm at all.
Except for the damnedest thing. Lost all the feeling in my arm. Doesn't hurt.
And then 1 second later, the cat's eating his film. I'm like, that's a cool thing that would have been nice if it was tucked in the back of your head and happened 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
But to establish that and pay it off instantaneously.
Here, let me take a look at that boo-boo.
And then to just be like, we have too many characters. Maybe he jumps off the boat and knocks that girl off and she dies too somehow.
Oh, wait!
How? She's made of paper mache and water just dissolves her. I don't know. Just get her off the boat. Okay.
The crew that was invited on by the girls, you got a Zach Morris and a Screech, basically.
Yes.
Zach Morris guy,
Archetypes,
he
yes.
tries to blackmail and switch it up on Walter.
Yeah, you can open it. Be my guest.
Go ahead. You do it nice and slow so I can see everything.
Like you said, the payoffs are so quick. It's this is what I'm
Yeah.
doing now, and then it pays off, and then it switches back around. It's okay.
You almost wanted something where he's in school on a wrestling scholarship. So you expect him to do something cool and tough, but the oldest man in the world knocks his ass out, and you're like, oh. Okay, I guess you're not that good.
And to be clear, if you haven't watched it in the audience, right? Sometimes when the kids are just alone, they're doing weird surf dance party where they play music and they all just go woo for 5 minutes. The tone is all over the place.
This big banquet that's just sitting out, and he's like, aren't you supposed to be cleaning up and stuff? And they're like, nah, they're not doing it.
like that was something that almost I think I missed up until this watch was like because he invites them over for a party and then like the next time we really see them is that next morning, but they did go to a party that happened off screen and that is what they're cleaning up was like, you know,
On
the
the boat,
aftermath
right?
of that
Yeah.
party.
Whoa, it must have been some party, huh?
Exactly. I think every other watch, which may have only been 2 watches in my life, I was like, what the hell? How late were they out on that first thing? And like, oh, the party started in the morning? No, I just missed that bit. But yeah,
No.
there was some wild.
Yeah, but there's never a point later where
Cocktail
these
party.
things matter, so you never would have noticed if
Yeah,
you
no.
if you understood it or not. But honestly, you know, you hinted at it, but like one of the only things that I did like was the repetition of like, we're trying to solve this problem, maybe we can do this, and then just like smash cut to like dumping another body off the side of the boat or whatever.
Why
And I
did
was
we
like,
keep dumping bodies off the like? At one point,
Listen,
you're like, okay, maybe he's
it
infected
obviously
with a
makes no sense,
disease.
but-
I was like, but do you
Yeah.
not fear a crime? Because like at one point, it's like, okay, you still are going to your destination, and you will get there having someone being dead. So like, it's like, okay, maybe I should leave this body on here. This is your friend. It's weird to just dump him overboard. Maybe put him
return
in
them
the
to the
closet.
sea.
But then it gets to a point where I'm like, you're not even acting like you care about these people. Oh yeah, you know, he must have fallen off in the night. He can't swim though. You know, we're not friends. He's fish food. Sorry.
Albert couldn't swim.
Is that true?
I'm afraid so. It's a shame about Albert.
Like I'm like, at least act
It's a
like you
murderer.
care about this guy. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Very weird.
I just liked the imagery, like the repetition, like the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
of it. Because the movie's very like sparse in terms of like quote unquote like good things or whatever, like like literary. Where I'm like because everyone keeps thinking like I know what you know we can do this, and then it's like bang bang bang, something happens, it's not going well. Cut to like da dun da dun da dun, just like
Yeah.
something, and I'm like oof, fuck man, like it keeps getting worse. But they
It
act like
just
they
felt weird
they've
too
been there
because
for
the one
weeks.
guy is
Yeah.
well, yeah. I don't even know how long that boat trip would take. Presumably 3 days though, because they're like, it's Friday. We gotta get there by the banks open on Monday, and I'm like, is that a thing?
Today's only Friday. We're there first thing Monday morning. We get the cash, then we go buy a country in South America.
A 3-hour tour. Don't
Yeah,
be
right.
ridiculous.
3 hours.
For a 3-hour tour, a 3-hour tour.
If you are to go with the like, it's a biological hazard, gotta get off the boat. I'm also like, couldn't that cause some sort of ecological problem if there's this like horribly contagious death blood? Like,
This is a prequel to 28 Days Later.
Animals are contagious. The infection is in their blood and saliva. One bite. Stop! You've no idea.
maybe
It's all red herring.
took a little while.
I love before Albert dies and gets it. He's just drunk at the wheel.
Albert.
Stop drinking the wine.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Oh, and they were like, "Hey, just like Vamp, we'll use whatever's good," and they used like every minute of him
Every
just, like,
goddamn frame.
sitting
Yeah.
there, no.
All alone here while he goes out and has his fun. Boy,
Just fucking. Oh god. Oh no. Stretch it. Yeah.
But then, yeah, like you said, they're all like, he must have fell overboard. Oh, well. We got to keep going. Schedule's a schedule.
That line, he can't swim, was so out of place. Where I'm like, is that supposed to make me think like, what the fuck? You've been
Well, like,
going
what
how
will
fast?
sell a
Like,
reason why
it's
we
so
shouldn't
far.
go back for this
I
guy?
know.
Oh, he's definitely dead. 100% dead. He was wearing his favorite shark chum necklace. He's gone.
It's like, listen, he's a 72-year-old murderer. He had bricks in his pockets. Leave him alone. And you're like, what? Like, how does this fly? Yeah.
It's a shame about Albert. I liked him.
Yeah, well, he's shark bait now.
He told us this was his last trip anyways. That was the plan. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. That's what I thought that she was gonna say. I thought she was gonna be like, "Oh, let me tell you something." And then he says he can't swim. I thought it was gonna be like, he was suicidal. This is the anniversary of his wife's death, and we honestly thought he might try something like this. But no,
said-
she's like, I think can't swim.
He's always wanted to dive the Titanic, and we're right over the wreckage. You don't understand. He has to go down.
King of the world.
He's king of the world.
Did you notice that Zach Morrissey kind of prick guy cocked the gun at every chance he had?
Shut up, Graham.
I'm like, is it not cocked right now?
Yes, I'm cocking.
Just constant cocking.
actors playing with gun props and having fun with it. It's like, I love to do that.
Too much fun.
You know, you're real lucky they won't let me blow your head off.
That guy's face, like, he's from something, right? That guy is in things. He's very familiar to me. But
Yeah.
I didn't place,
I want to
like,
say.
was he on Baywatch or something? What is that guy?
It might be
Melrose
some
Place. He was on Melrose Place.
Trouble at home?
You consider not wanting to sleep in the same bed with your wife trouble? Yeah.
The original Melrose Place or the new one?
The original
one. He's old as fuck. Yeah. That's amazing. I remember watching that.
This is 87, so if he was on the new one, he'd be like
I know.
the grandpa.
For some reason, I just always have to check because everyone's always like this, and I'm like, really? Like, no. One came out 20 years later that I've never heard of. I'm like, okay.
So many remakes and so many different things. There's a lot of different movies called Uninvited, so that's why I had to give you guys the date of which one. You knew which one I was talking about. So
I had a feeling when you first said it, I was like, I know where he's going. I know where Mr. Nightmare's taking me.
Right? Like, there's a lot of things wrong with this movie, but I find most of it charming. But that's the thing. Like I said, the title is what actually annoys me. It's like, because that's why this movie hid from me for so long, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
And yeah, this didn't make it easy. Did you catch there's like a magazine framed in the background of like the rich guy's like bedroom or office, and it just says money.
Got a lot of nice stuff here for a creep, Graham.
That's what happens when you've got money, preppy.
And it's a picture of him.
Yeah. Money magazine.
Like, presumably, the life of crime gives him money to then make money legitimately, or vice versa. So, like, he's doing something, because he was on Forbes 2 times, or whatever the fucking preppy kid said.
So he's made a lot of money, so what? So what? This guy has been on the cover of Forbes magazine twice.
He's just a man, horny like every other guy.
Do you mean the blah, 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 blah?
Last night we met this guy, Walter Graham. He's got this great big yacht.
Now, wait, are you talking about Wall Street Walter?
He's on the Forbes 50 under 50.
Yeah.
My God.
I like when that kid shoots wildly and like steam pipe explodes and just like melts his face. Killing him, but not before he gets to say that, oh, he's too clever. He knows the food is poison.
Kid knows the food's poisoned.
I hate those moments in movies. Stop associating knowledge to this cat. It can either smell the poison or doesn't want your goddamn tuna because it's eating flesh.
And it poisons the food too by like touching it. So like if you go to eat the food,
yeah, how weird is that? And like the degree that it poisons it. That girl has a tiny breadcrumb, and her neck literally punctures and blood sprays out. What the hell's that?
Okay, but we're talking about the deaths now. The effects are not that bad.
Yeah, they're actually really good.
I love bulging, bumpy stuff happening in like old movies, like just bags of like. It delivers. It's got it.
It needed something like that because you ask yourself, well, how does the cat kill everybody? Oh, if it minorly scratches you, you implode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, does anything wrong
off of the ledge? Yeah.
One bite, one scratch, one touch of the food that it touched, you're dead, basically.
So the cat is poison, right? We don't have, I don't know if he's a doctor or like what his science credentials are, right? But he uses like a sextant, I believe, like a navigation thing. I guess he flips it around or something, and he looks at the blood. he looks into the blood using it like it's a microscope, and he goes, it's too much blood. Got extra blood in there. It's too much blood happening. And then
put some water on it. Oh, it's coming alive.
Okay, so like that blood gets into you and then it multiplies and makes too much blood and you get bumpy and then you explode? Is that how it's killing people?
I did not catch the science there, but
crazy.
Yes.
So what were they doing to that cat?
But then you're like, oh, naturally, that's the poison. Like A, that it would be poisonous, and B, that like that would be the effect. I'm like, what? It wouldn't like paralyze you or do some other thing. It makes you get all bulgy and start fountaining blood.
Well, and like working your way back as to why this is even a thing. And I don't mean the movie, but I mean like why did science make this beast? And it's like, okay, so I guess they're making a monster that you could drop and it would unassumingly invade your enemy's territory and kill them.
They wouldn't expect a house cat. I mean,
I guess, but it's such a weird thing to like. Again, it comes down to like, why? Why that? Like,
I'm gonna go with Venom prequel. They are putting symbiotes into test animals, and this just happens to be a house cat. It takes on the traits of its host, right? But it's very immature, right? They haven't been able to keep it alive very well, and we're just watching it go on its journey.
And it's
and now it's inside of George Kennedy.
It's all taking place in some like big like clinic building in the middle of the city. It's like once it gets out the garage, it's just out in the city until it gets on the truck and then eventually makes its way to a dock somehow. But it's like you think if they were really testing these type of killer animals, they would be in some sort of like army bunker area, like an Area 51 type thing,
or a shut door.
Yeah.
You know. The smallest of securities.
Yeah, right.
Well, and there's not even like, oh, right, like I push a button and his little cat head explodes or whatever. There's none of that happening.
There's nothing. Yeah, it needs a special diet
Suicide
to live.
Squad cat.
Anything.
Yeah.
Poorly executed plan that backfired very easily for them. They didn't see that coming.
And there's even a line in there that that I wrote down, which is like, a poison cat? How's that possible? There's some fucking person says that, and you're like,
A poisonous cat. Now, how's that possible?
like, exactly.
Yeah, the guy
Agreed.
at the like whatever island they land on is like, I think the trip has been too much for you.
As to your story about a monster, poisonous cat, well, I'm afraid your ordeal must have been too much for you.
Let me just walk you out with your
like,
money that
listen,
I have in a bag on my desk, whatever.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I mean,
I think my
they get
favorite
away,
part of
we
this
should mention
movie
that
is
if
the
they want.
ending.
Yeah.
Like they're in the raft,
Yeah.
the boat is sinking, presumably from a gunshot wound.
Well, you've got to do something. It's not going to stop in 2 minutes.
The whole boat's gonna go down. It's a yacht. Like,
and they're like, wait a minute, that hole's leaking. Oh no! And then it's like, well, the boat's about to. It's like,
Yeah.
so sinking. Yeah.
Where's Graham? I
But yeah,
they're in a dinghy, and like the evil cat has now like got onto the dinghy, and like they just filmed something and played it twice. It seemed like
Yes.
it lurches at him. He catches it, like, oh god, throws it off, and they're like, "Ooh, thank God that's a ah, God. Oh God!"
No,
I'm like, what?
they play him crawling over the like side again, and then the guy goes, "He's coming back!"
Oh, Rachel, it's not over yet!
Yeah.
Play it again. They do the whole thing again. It's so stupid.
Like, it almost felt like an error in the
Amazing.
editing room that just are like, we're keeping it. We needed that extra, like, 20 seconds of padding.
It might be 2 takes or like 2 attempts with duped footage and that that line where he says like, he's coming back. Like, let's do
Yeah.
it. Fucking make it work.
And I don't hate it because, like, I actually love it because it's like one of those so bad it's great moments for me.
Listen, that moment destroyed my brain. I was like, are they in on the joke? Has this whole time just been like genius, like misdirection and whatever the fuck? What's happening?
I imagine it was like Graydon Clark offside, throwing the cat at him.
Yeah. And then, like, when it's all wet just on the briefcase, I'm like, okay. The size is rapidly fluctuating between takes, but I enjoy what I see.
I like what I saw, but let's not let that pass, right? Their idea is like, we gotta throw the cat's just trying not to drown. If we give it something else to crawl onto, he'll crawl onto that. Throw the case out there. And then you're like, yes, man's duality to man. Do I keep the money or do I try to get the cat? No, they just dump all the money out of the case and they close the empty case and they throw the empty case and then the cat
they had a bag for it too. You're like, where did that gym bag come from? You were just ready for this money.
Instead.
You just had it ready.
Version of its own premises that are coming up, and instantly it's as if on set they were like, wait, people are going to think that like you have to make a difficult decision here. Can we get in some other bag? Let's make the money wetter. Let's just sell this. Like, don't worry, audience, they have the money. And I'm like, what? Like, it should have been like a reveal at the end. You should have thought, they had to do this horrible thing to do like whatever, and then he has his luggage and she's like, well, everyone's fucking dead, and like, and then he opens it and it goes like, haha, and she's like, whoa, and they go and they drive away and it's the best thing
But
ever.
didn't they have 2 briefcases anyway? Because there were 3 total. The guy went back for the 3rd one and died. There were 2 in the boat. They would have only thrown 1. They still would have had $1 million in 1987. It's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you could do there where for 3 fucking minutes the audience would be like, oh wow, that's a thing that happened. Oh, it didn't happen. Oh, nice. But they did like you were pointing out before. They introduced the idea, and then like a stoner, they think they just thought of that, and they go, oh, I should do the next part, and they just instantly do it. They don't like let anything like sit.
Breathe.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Nothing. And I think it's like apparently every dinghy comes with a gym bag. Like that's just part of the dinghies.
Yeah, there's like crackers, a flare, a lot of empty space for $1 million. Yeah, that checks. That checks out.
Did they dump out like the little like potato blanket, the foil thing?
I didn't
and the
see that, but maybe
that would be funny. Yeah, but they were like,
It was funny that like the movie only has like one soundstage moment where you're like, ah, yes, like when they're jumping out of the boat. So it cuts from like the little fake miniature, and it's like choppy water. Oh, we're taking on a thing. They're on the deck. They're being splashed with water, and then it cuts to them aiming down where you'd get into the boat. He's like, oh yeah, you just go down. I'll jump down to you. I'm like, it is the middle of the worst storm you've ever been at. Out at sea, and you're gonna jump into the ocean and swim into it, and you cut to the water, and it's just a black pool. It's not moving at all.
There's a part where they're jumping out of the boat earlier, I think, where they actually blacked out a part of the frame. It's like the upper corner of the frame is just black or something. I'm not sure, but I will double check.
Yeah, it's a fun movie though. I'm glad we watched it. Sometimes after we do our little talk, it's like I either realize that I actually hated something, or I come back around and I say, no, I love that movie. I feel like the talk did not hurt or help us. I feel exactly the same as when I went in. I still recommend it.
Flaws and all, like, warts and all on this little mutant cat. I just think people should find it charming, because I do, and they should check it out.
Think about it. Okay? Just think about it.
Oh, yeah. They should make a sequel. We should see what that cat's up to now.
Yes, we actually would love a sequel. Come on, Graydon Clark, make it happen.
Is he still alive?
Yeah,
Is this person still doing their thing?
I don't know about making movies, but Gory got his autograph very recently, and it's funny because it, like the picture that he signed, it looked like it was a Xeroxing, and it like was running out of ink. Like so, Graydon Clark, she's like, I'm happier that way. Like, he gave no fucks. He's like, it's bad looking, but whatever. Sign, send.
That is the most awesome concept in the world of like some like indie filmmaker that you like, or some like lower budget whatever type of genre filmmaker, and they sign it, and like the Sharpie's running out of ink, and they're like, that's close enough. You see what I was going for, and you're just like, exactly, man, exactly. Fuck it.
Yeah.
When this video comes out, he'll be 80 years old.
Shut up about that. Right now we gotta kill that cat.
One of the things that I liked was that scene that you talked about where she goes to eat the poisoned food. Because I like the idea, again, that in this movie that's barely hanging together and is this relic and this amazing little gem, that whoever's, Graydon Clark, I guess, people are like, no, this is a character study. Each person is going to behave differently in the face of like this crisis. And this one chick's going to like go to the zoo and freak out.
It's just a pack of lies.
And she's acting, and she's like, I knew it. They're lying to me. The food's fine. And she's fucking eating the poisoned food because she's like freaking out. And she's the one who's like, we're all gonna die out here, and like going crazy and stuff. And I'm like, why are you putting in all this effort? The acting, the writing, the whole thing. What's happening?
That's it. The effort is actually so pronounced from that character, because everybody else is like not acting for large portions of the movie.
So after you've cleaned up this mess here, get everything ready. Will you please?
In terms of like understanding your own mortality. So like everything around that character, there is acting, because I think she was elevating the people around her, because she's like, it wasn't my fault. You said it was good luck to bring the cat. It's your fault.
You said it was good luck to bring a cat on board.
That's right, I did.
You brought it. And like, yes, it's your
Going,
fault.
like,
Because that even made him feel like a better actor when he gets to placate her like, yes, it's my fault.
And it's your fault that cat's here. It's not mine.
You're right. But I still need you to stay on watch.
They all know it's me. It's me. It's not you. It's me. Like, I actually, I'm glad you pointed that out. Because, she is much better than other people who are not thinking like, oh yeah, we're gonna die, la la la. Like, no, when you're gonna die, it's a desperate maneuver. Like, you don't just go zero to I'm gonna die. There's a whole lot of mileage between there where you're like not accepting it.
Exactly.
And for some people, that's part of their character. Like the main guy is like, "Fuck off! I'm doing this. It's me. It's the me show. Fuck you. If you have to die, it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make." And everything.
Right.
And then some of the kids are like naive and like, "Oh man, I don't know what to do or whatever." Right? Everyone's got their little things, but yeah, to even bother doing that, to have a character be like unhinged and creating conflict, I was like, why? What's happening? At the end, we're all wet anyway.
Right.
We're all done.
You're both lying! We're never gonna get out of this alive! We're all gonna die!
All done, much like this review. So thanks again for joining us, Danny. Danny, once again, tell these people where they can find you.
I'm at Horror Addicts TV on YouTube. You can also find me on like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Horror Addicts is everywhere. And yeah, we love to talk horror, and I love talking horror with you guys. Thanks for inviting me to this.
Anytime.
Thanks for
Anytime
picking this
indeed.
movie. We got an experience. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, guys. Until next time. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
Cannibal Video has everything you need. A wide array of VHS and DVDs. We ate the competition, now it's only us. Our expert staff opinion